Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Barry Coombs and today we're going to be talking all about calling with Microsoft Teams. My role here at Computer World is Chief Technologist and I specialise in workspace transformation technologies. Been involved with technologies surrounding Microsoft 365 and users' desktops for a very long time now. And I'm excited today to share some insights, some thoughts, some considerations all about calling in Microsoft Teams and generally how telephony may be changing inside your organisation. We've got a jam-packed agenda today. First of all, talking about the need for change. What's going on? What's led to this change with regards to telephony? The next is what is Microsoft phone system? How does it fit in with the wider Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Teams? Then digging a little bit deeper, calling Microsoft Teams, how does it work? How does it technically fit together? And what is the user experience you would expect from your users? We're then going to have a look at some of the options you've got to configure Microsoft Teams from an administration standpoint. We're going to look at direct routing and we're going to look at the Microsoft options with calling plans that are available to you there. We're going to then finish looking at Microsoft Teams rooms and some final thoughts. And what I might do at the very end is just show you what their admin experience looks like, just so you can start to familiarise yourself. But really want anybody that's watching this just to reach out afterwards. If you'd like to see a demo, one-to-one, or would like us to help set up a trial for you so you could understand these technologies, please reach out to us. My name is Barry C at computerworld.co.uk. That's where you can get hold of me or speak to your Computer World account manager. So the last 2 years has been a bit of a strange old time. It's accelerated the journey that many of us are on when it comes to the modern workplace and flexible working. And one of the biggest surprises for organisation has been how do we allow people the flexibility to work from home and now in a hybrid scenario in the office as well. And one of the pieces of technologies that for most organisations really wasn't set up to work in this manner was the telephone system, maybe the older Panasonic, Mitel or the Avaya phone systems that you may have in place just simply weren't set up for ease of movement between one place and another. And those phone systems that could be set up in such a manner had very complex configuration options and also complex licensing options where you had to really decide or consider, does somebody need a license to be able to use it on their home computer, on their tablet, on their work PC, a physical phone? You almost had to kind of think about which configurations you want in advance and then pay for the right licenses up front. And of course, COVID-19 has made this more important. I'm sure I can't be the only person that has struggled to get through to businesses over the last 24 months. People are now working at home. We've still got to portray that professional image. We need to make sure that when people are coming through to your support lines, when they're speaking to your salespeople, it's quick, it's easy, and it's professional. And there's a number of things we can do with calling to make sure that that is the case. Most organisations are now looking at moving to the cloud, and that includes parts of the phone system where you maybe had those installed in a communications room or a data centre before. So we're looking for cloud native phone systems. And of course, during this time, Microsoft Teams has really become a hub for communication in many of your organizations. Your users are used to using it for video communications, for things like webinars, for chat messages. So it makes logical sense to maybe extend those features inside Microsoft Teams to allow you to make and receive calls over a standard telephone network. And that's what this is all about. It's about ease of experience for the users. It's about unifying that communication. It's about having one single way to be able to set your status, irrespective of if you're on a Teams meeting, if you're on a webinar, or if you're placing a call. We're looking to bring that all together with Microsoft Teams. Now, the way that Microsoft has gone about this is they've introduced a component called the Microsoft phone system. It's one component as part of Microsoft Business Voice, or the calling side of Microsoft Teams. And think of it as your phone system in the cloud. That's one of the things that you need to be considering. So the phone system is the core component. This is what allows you to make and receive calls. It is going to replace those capabilities for maybe the PBX that you had installed previously. It works with both Microsoft Teams and Skype for Business, and this is all really about a modernisation of that communication platform. And maybe today you're already using Skype for Business for calling. This is about the next evolution. The service is delivered and maintained by Microsoft. It is your responsibility or a partner such as Computerworld to configure it and to be able to support it. And it will allow you to make and receive calls. So if we look at some of those components, you're going to need these components on screens or a subsection of them configured inside your Microsoft 365 tenant to enable telephony inside Microsoft Teams. From a licensing standpoint, you need your Office 365 license first for every user. You're going to need to license the Microsoft phone system for every user that needs to be able to use it. You are then able to configure the way that you make your phone calls in two different ways. We can either go with a Microsoft-centric route where you will move your business phone numbers to Microsoft and you will pay for what's called a calling plan and calling credits. The calling plan per user gives them a set of minutes that they can utilise, pulled together with all other users inside your company. And those can just be for mobile and national numbers or optionally for international numbers as well. And for anything that isn't included with those, you have a bundle of calling credits that will consume the credit available for things maybe like premium rate calls or international calls if you don't have the option available. The second option that you've got, which we're going to talk about today, is direct routing. That's where you use the phone system from Microsoft, but you work with a telephony provider or a managed services provider like Computerworld to provide the connection to the telephony network. And from there, that's where you get your bundle of minutes, you get your calling package. But there are also some other advantages in terms of flexibility. Now, in terms of cost, they're going to be much of a muchness, much the same, especially for smaller businesses. For larger businesses, you're likely to see a cost improvement for the direct routing side of it. And for that flexibility, we do find that most of our customers look for a configuration where they're using the direct routing functionality. Now, the final thing you may want to consider are Microsoft meeting room licenses to enable your meeting rooms with video conferencing functionality through Microsoft Teams. And the other element may be audio conferencing on a per user basis to allow your users to book an audio conference that people can dial into. So there's a number of things to consider. Got to have the Microsoft 365 license that must have Microsoft Teams as a component. You've got to have the option for Microsoft phone system for every user. You need to choose whether you're going to buy a calling plan and calling credits from Microsoft or whether you're going to work with a partner like Computerworld to have direct routing enabled where you have a calling plan configured with someone like us. You then need to look at your meeting options, so whether you have a meeting room license. You could also have a common area phone license if you just want a phone inside your meeting room. And the final part then is audio conferencing. Now, from Computerworld's perspective, we are a Microsoft licensing specialist. We're able to help you with everything like NCE and MSP licensing. So please reach out to us. We want to make this easy for you. Don't be too worried about the complexity. We can get this in a very simple place. Now, from your user's perspective, this is all around simplicity for them. We find that a vast majority of users, when using calling in Microsoft Teams, simply use the Teams client that you may be using now, you may have running. You'll notice on the left-hand side, we've got the calls option that is available, and that is the component that when licensed, you will be able to see, and you'll be able to see that with the dial pad. From there, you can punch your numbers in, you can make your calls. You can also click numbers inside of a browser that will make it available to you. On the right-hand side here, you can see your call history, you can see missed calls. We can set up speed dials, other contacts, and we can also group users together. One of the features that I really like inside here is if you have a voicemail, when you click the voicemail inside of here, it is translated into text. So you don't have to listen to that voicemail to try and note down the number. You can simply have a look at the text that is given to you and optionally listen to it if you need to. We can see down the bottom here, we've got some opportunity to be able to customize what happens, to forward to voicemail, to be in and outside of groups. And another real benefit here of this being part of Microsoft 365 is your contacts in Microsoft 365 are synced through to this. So it's very easy to make those calls. So the Microsoft Teams voice is very feature rich. It has many of the components that you will come used to in your existing phone system. And we find for most organizations, these are the features they'll need. So things like auto attendance, when people call your organization, you'll have the ability to select 1 to speak to sales, select 2 to speak to the finance department, so on and so forth. We can configure that in advanced configurations with times for that the system should be working or not working or divert into a voicemail. We can also configure things like public holidays in there as well to do something slightly different. Of course, we get voicemail, as we've already discussed. You can have group pickups. You can have calling queues where people are coming into a queue that is maybe going into a support department or something like that. We can configure hold music. It is possible to add a contact center solution. And if you're a housing association, that's something that you're probably going to be looking for. There will be others that maybe have support lines that you give to your customers. Councils, we also find that are in need of contact center solutions. So as you can see here, all the major features you would come to use in your phone system should be available. But don't let this put you off if there is a feature missing here. When we get to the direct routing aspect, which we'll get to in a moment, we'll talk about how you could add features like mandating that calls are recorded through the direct routing configuration. What we normally recommend customers do when it comes to their phone system is sit down with the business and understand what features are needed and what features are required moving forward. And only then consider what you need to do in terms of those features for a new phone system. We find that lots of the legacy phone systems have page upon page of features, which is brilliant if you need all of them, but ultimately they may just cause complexity and confusion, and maybe they're features you don't really need anymore. With the Microsoft Teams phone system, it's now a mature system. It meets most people's requirements, and we're able to configure it in a multitude of different ways. So if you have specific requirements, please speak to us at Computer World, and we can help design a calling solution to meet those specific needs. Now, when you place a phone call via the phone system, clearly if it's an internal call, it is just routed via Teams like it is done today. If you're buying a calling plan from Microsoft, Microsoft will deal with the breakout to the public telephone network with the calling plans we've discussed and calling credits. We can also use it with direct routing where that phone system then connects through, and we'll come to that in a moment. We've already said that calling plans are available as the domestic for national and mobile calls, and you get 1,200 minutes per user per month, which is generally quite excessive. Think of it as unlimited with a fair use policy, really. And we're also able to do international as well. Now, direct routing gives us a little bit more of features and functionality. So let's start on a journey in the bottom right here. This is your users making calls via a meeting room, via their computer, or via a telephone that could be connected with Microsoft Teams. And we'll dig into the devices that are available a little bit more in a moment. That call will be placed via the Microsoft phone system, and you're able to set the rules, the policies behind the scenes there for how that should be handled. Now, instead of that breaking out via Microsoft's infrastructure then, it will break out through the infrastructure of someone like Computer World that will host a hardware component for you called an SBC, a Session Border Controller. Now, when we do that for our customers, by default, they are highly available to make sure there is no single point of failure with the hardware that is managing your calls. And we will also manage and maintain your business phone numbers as well. We like to think that if you have a telephony problem, then we probably have a better ability to deliver a personal service to get it resolved quicker for you than maybe Microsoft, being such a large organization, dealing with a problem with one of your numbers. And we do see that as being one of the other advantages. But the functionality with direct routing means we can customize the calling plan to meet your specific needs. We're able to connect external contact center solutions. So if you're a housing solution, a housing company, if you are a council, if you're someone with a external facing contact service desk, you will have the options around that as well. And then finally, if you need something like call recording, or you want to do a staged migration from a legacy phone system to a modern phone system, we can do all of that with direct routing. And finally, that is then going to break out to that network. So don't let the complexity around this be of a concern to you, to worry you. This is very simple. It's delivered as a managed service, costs the same, if not less, as the Microsoft calling plans. And it means you've just got a system that is truly flexible to allow you to do what you want. Now, if you are looking at using an existing SBC you may have in-house or a contact center solution, we've put a number of the commonly used components on screen here. There's also a link at the bottom that you can go to for get a bit more clarification. From a computer world perspective, we generally work with audio codes or ribbon SBCs, and from a contact center solution, Anywhere 365 or Enchouse Interactive. If you wish to see demonstrations for any of those, please let us know. Now, as we mentioned earlier, commonly Microsoft Teams is used with the Teams client to place those calls. Now, if your users are using a laptop to place calls, I would highly recommend that headsets such as the Poly Voyager headsets are chosen. It will cut out any background noise. You might be hearing some on my call today because I'm not using one, but it will give you the ability to be able to cut out that background noise for anyone that's listening, and it will also allow the person that is making the calls to cut out any background noise. So it uses two features, sort of active audio noise cancelling and audio fielding, to be able to really cut down and improve that experience. Lots of people say that in this modern world where we're talking over cameras to people, it's the equivalent of being suited and booted. When we used to go to the meetings putting on our best tie and shining our shoes, now we need to make sure that our audio video is clear, concise, and people can hear us well. We've got things like the personal video bar technologies that maybe an exec could use that doesn't want to be sitting there with a headset, has a nice quiet office, but wants a ready-to-go solution with camera, speaker, and microphone, and all of the audio cancelling technology built into it. Similarly, you might have people inside your organisation that need to make use of a telephone. Maybe they're not on Teams all day. Maybe picking up a headset isn't ideal for them. So having a phone that works for them, whether it's a basic phone or whether it's a more advanced phone that they can actually do video calls on it, may be convenient. And the final thing that we do find some people find quite useful, maybe people like roaming salespeople that are out on the road, are portable speakerphones. Now, at the other end of things, we've got meeting rooms and meeting room technology. And this is a big area at the moment, especially with people returning to office slowly. We've now got these hybrid scenarios where people may be at home for a meeting, they may be at office for the meeting, but you need to cater for people that will be in the opposite location at all times. Microsoft Teams rooms fully integrate with Microsoft Teams calling, so you're able to place and make the calls from it, and you include those phone system licenses in your Microsoft Teams room license. They're able to be configured in a variety of different ways with a variety of different solutions. One of the more convenient options are things like a collaboration bar that is an all-in-one unit that you can simply bolt to the wall, and it will handle most small to medium-sized meeting rooms. You may need things like, I refer to them as spider phones that will sit in the center of the room, and you need to make sure they're Teams compatible. Or you can go for a full Microsoft Teams room system, which is the Windows experience, as opposed to the Android experience that the collaboration bar is. Now, there's lots to look into, to understand and think about when it comes to Microsoft Teams rooms. So if you look at computerworld.co.uk in the events section, we've got a webinar coming up later on in the year when we'll be looking into these technologies. And if it's still available, head over to live.computerworld.co.uk. We did a session at Define Tomorrow where we did a virtual tour of Poly's Experience Centre to show you all these. Where possible, if you're watching the recording afterwards, we'll link to that video underneath as well. So just as a bit of a comparison then between the two, so the all Microsoft solution using calling plans, calling credits, you need to think about audio conferencing. For any rooms that you're going to be needing a Microsoft Teams solution, you either want Microsoft Meeting Room, or if you're just going to put a phone in there, it's not going to be allocated to a user, you will need that common area device. With direct routing, it's much the same, but instead of handling the calling plans and calling credits, you'll connect out via a certified provider like Computerworld using direct routing. So a few final thoughts then before we offer a way to go next, and I'll give you a little bit of a demonstration as to the admin experience. So it's still vital to be able to make or receive calls for the vast majority of organisations. Video conferencing has become more day-to-day, so we can look at solutions where we're putting that audio calling in the same solution that we're using for video conferencing to truly make Microsoft Teams a communication hub inside your organisation. Make sure you think about your meeting rooms and what needs to happen inside of those, whether it's a dedicated phone or a full Teams room solution. Microsoft Teams calling is a mature solution that is now feature-rich, so speak with Computerworld as to the features and functionality you need so we can best advise you for the way to configure those. This fully supports mobile working, so whether you're in the office, whether you're at home, whether you're on the road, as long as you have a reliable internet connection, you can use Teams calling with the same phone number wherever you are. And of course, it's fully based on voice over IP standards and hosted in the cloud, so no hardware is needed in your data center. So here at Computer World, we offer a complimentary discovery and strategy assessment. We'll give you a full end-to-end product demonstration, and this is really good for the champions inside your business. Not just the IT team that may be selecting the system, but maybe you have some people that are kind of change champions, 365 champions, that you'd like to see them work in it before you commit. We'll have a discussion about how you use your phone system today across the different people, the different personas inside your organisation, to best advise how you configure it moving forward. We're able to review any hardware requirements for telephones, handsets, headsets, Teams rooms, speakerphones, anything like that. And we will summarise all this and give you an understanding of the costs in a recommendations document. So if you're really looking at Microsoft Teams, you want to go a stage further, you want to drill into some of that detail, please reach out to your Computer World account manager or me and book your complimentary discovery and strategy assessment. Now, if I just swap screens here, I just want to show you a little bit about the administration experience with Microsoft Teams, because this is really one of the benefits that we've not discussed widely until now. Now, one of the things that I have found over the years of managing phone systems and working with customers that have is generally they can be overly complicated. Certainly there's lots of our customers that have had to pay expensive support contracts up to £50 to £100 per change to make changes to their phone system. Now, the real beauty of calling inside Microsoft Teams is that unified management from an administration perspective, where you're looking at policy, where you're looking at configuration. It's all managed and maintained in the same area that you're already managing Microsoft Teams. So as we look here, I'm in the Microsoft Teams admin console. I can see the phone numbers that we would configure inside of here. I can see the direct routing configuration. I can configure calling policies, how we should call numbers. We can configure dial plans. We can also go in and configure things like our auto attendance. So this is like our main number or our customer support number, where you're able to come through and configure the options inside of here. But hopefully what you are seeing is everything inside of here is generally quite simple, quite easy to get your head around, and ultimately you shouldn't have to be doing anything with it on a day-to-day basis. So it's very simple to quickly change, to think, and configure what you need to be doing from a calling perspective. So that's all I have for you today on Microsoft Teams calling. I hope you found it insightful. I hope you found it useful. Please reach out to us with any questions, speak to your account manager, speak to me at barryc@computerworld.co.uk, or connect with me at LinkedIn. We'd be more than happy to show you it in person, set up a demo for you, and see how Microsoft Teams calling and Computer World could help you take that next step. Thank you very much.